Intro music.
Overview narration. Overview narration.
Oh, doctor!
My name is James.
And my name is Joey.
And this is the Brothers Padre.
James, another beautiful 4 days has happened since the last time we recorded a podcast. It's sunny in San Diego. We put shorts on every day. It's gorgeous. It's April, baby. Well, no, it's not. It's May. It's gonna be May. True story. I was once confused for Justin Timberlake.
That is true. I forgot about that. Oh, that's a great story we need to get into someday. Joey used to get, because I'm just going to go into it, because why not? When you were, what, 11? 10?
I mean, AOL was a thing. So
AOL was a thing.
We can reverse engineer my age from that.
So apparently his email address was very similar to
we've never confirmed this, but we assumed.
We assumed. Similar to Justin Timberlake's, because he was just getting countless fan letters from teenage girls. And some of them were sending photos.
None of it. I was very young, so it was just young. It was weird. I was at an age where it wasn't funny. It was just weird.
You were younger. You were probably.
I was probably 11 or 12.
Yeah, you were probably 11. No, you were definitely younger than that, because it was.
Well, this is actually how you can find out. So my email address, I don't care. You can dox me because AOL doesn't exist anymore. It was baseball3000@AOL.com. Not around anymore because AOL is non-existent.
Because you wanted to do baseball 2000. That was already taken because it was almost the year 2000. That means you were 10.
No, because Tony Gwynn was close to hitting 3,000 hits.
Oh, okay.
When was that?
98.
He wasn't hitting 3,098. As he discreetly Googled on his phone.
It was 99. He got his 3,000 hit in 99.
Yeah, so it would have been 99. It would have been...
so you would have been 11.
Yeah. Anyways, I was getting weird emails.
Long story short, he was getting countless emails from girls thinking he was Justin Timberlake. And when he broke up with Britney, oh my goodness, he got a lot of weird, disturbing emails from teenagers. It was rather funny. Hilarious times in our household.
Hey, regardless, it's May, just as my confused self. And we're both just as handsome too, so I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
James, the Padres did well. We're going to get into it in the recap episode. We're doing fine this weekend. We saw the San Francisco Giants. We did well against them.
We did indeed.
Yeah, I feel like there was nothing whenever we play the Giants, it doesn't feel particularly incredible to win. The wins, they just all feel like, yeah, it's good baseball wins, like classic baseball wins.
Yes. Well, because there isn't the same amount of edge against the Giants there is against the Dodgers. Even though the Giants are winning our division currently, there isn't the same animosity, and there isn't enough build-up between the two teams so far.
Oh, no.
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
Not a little bit.
I think, if anything, both of our teams have a shared hatred for the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah. I don't know who someone, I was trying to explain to someone that my fandom is Padres first and Dodgers losing second. That's basically my baseball fandom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I know it sounds, like they're living rent free in my head. But you know what? Bullies live in people's heads all the time.
Exactly.
And they're bullies.
Exactly.
So I don't want them to succeed.
And if the Padres and Giants would combine every time one of us was playing the Dodgers,
we'd do it every day.
Is Hernando Tatis Jr. now a new Giant, and we have Humensky?
Ooh, weird.
What is all this stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll break some of that down in the recap episode, James. But we're going to do a little more discussion around what's happening around baseball, what's happening around the Padres. So let's just jump into our topics, James.
Interesting stats, ladies and gentlemen.
So the first thing on the docket today, James, is the epidemic of injuries around baseball and with the San Diego Padres. Injuries on the San Diego Padres currently: Mike Clevenger, Adrian Morejon, Matt Strom, Michelle Baez, Jose Castillo, Taylor Williams, Trey Wigginter, and Don Altavilla. And Ryan Weathers, question mark, are all currently injured. And that's way too many people and an abnormal amount of people that are injured.
Especially since they're all major league quality pitchers.
Yeah, what should be noted is there's no position players on that list.
Yeah, they're all pitchers. You wouldn't think we have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball with that many injuries. It just shows how deep our pitching staff is, but it really is. It's weird.
And I think what I want to get into a little bit is it's not just something that's happening with the Padres; it's happening across the majors. Alden Gonzalez had this trippy stat from ESPN for pitchers. There were 102 non-COVID in-season injured list trips by pitchers in April. That's one more than combined total from April 2018 and 2019. What that means is there was more injuries this past April than the past 2 full season Aprils combined. So we're almost seeing double of what you expect for injuries just in the very first month of a season. And it's like Dustin May just went down for the Dodgers. Brusdar Graterol got injured. David Price is injured. Corbin Burns got injured. These are very, very good pitchers that are getting injured in April.
Yes.
And
there's lots of theories, and we're going to dive into them. The first is the new ball that they're using. I've yet to actually touch one, so I couldn't tell you the difference personally. But apparently the grooves are
the seams are deeper.
The seams are deeper and it's heavier.
Mm-hmm.
So the theory is these pitchers are now throwing a heavier ball, and their bodies are used to throwing a lighter ball, and that's causing more stress in their arms and making them go out. So you're seeing a lot of Tommy Johns coming out of this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Padres have Morejon, Clevenger, Baez, Castillo just came off it, and Wigginter just came off of it. Yeah, so 5 Tommy Johns.
5 Tommy Johns.
Just within the past year.
Like
Not with a new ball, but you're seeing...
Dustin May, the day walker, is going out with Tommy John.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing a lot of it, and it could just because the heavier ball and they're not used to throwing it. It also could be the fact that the science in baseball has changed a lot, and all the pitchers are focusing on spin rates. That means they have to hold the ball, spin it harder in their hand, and they're doing more with their muscles, and that's causing stress on their arms as well. And every pitcher, you heard this term more so this offseason than any other offseason, was spin rate. Spin rate, spin rate. They're all trying to get their spin rates up, and that could cause more stress on the arm.
Oh, I mean, I forget which national reporter for baseball was basically said, hey, there's multiple managers have said, if we're going to keep emphasizing velocity and spin rate, we're going to have more injuries, especially the way that they're doing it, which is, and this is kind of inside the science of pitching. I don't pretend to be a pitch scientist or a pitcher.
Really?
Maybe I do pretend, actually. I pretend a little bit.
You were Justin Timberlake. You can't pretend to be a pitcher.
I guess I
doctor
can.
Either.
You brought up a good point. So there's this idea of like mechanics is a holistic thing, not just just throw harder, throw gas. It's a toe to the head sort of scenario. Like Jacob deGrom is a perfect example of this. The guy throws 100 to the 9th inning, but he has perfect body mechanics. A lot of these guys, a good example is like the Andres Munoz, who we traded to the Seattle Mariners. The Padres traded them in one of the 5 trades we did with Mariners last year.
Yes.
He was the kind of guy of just like, he looked like he was catapulting his elbow. He used his elbow like a trebuchet, where just the pivot point was so upper body, it just looked like his elbow was snapping off. And he throws the same velocity as Jacob deGrom, but Jacob deGrom uses his lower body so much. So what happens is when you use your whole body, this is the theory anyway. Like Trevor Bauer is a good example of this too. you minimize the stress on your upper part of your body, right? And then what we're seeing is because velocity is taught and spin rate is like that's how you get people out. You have good spin, you more deception, you more strikeouts. All of a sudden, you're a major league pitcher.
And it's funny because a lot of pitchers are going to the full body pitching. That's what they credit Joe Musgrove made the switch in 2020. He used to be a big arm movement kind of a pitcher, and now he's a whole body pitcher where his arm movement's less.
Shorter arm slot.
Shorter arm slot, but he's using more of his hips. He's 6'5". He should use more of his legs and hips.
Yeah, that's why Randy Johnson, that's why he was so devastating. He threw at a super low arm slot, but he just used his whole, all 6'10" of them.
Yeah, and I watched this thing about that's why they think,
and those guys can still get Tommy John. Let's not forget that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But they get it later as opposed to
earlier in their career
when they're 21,
still kids.
Right?
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is I saw this guy talking about how you're not seeing a lot of Japanese or Asian pitchers having this type of problem because how they teach their pitchers over there is to use their whole body, use their hips, use their natural pivot, and not their arms. And the only reason, and now that the ball and the spin rate and the grips are all changing, it's putting more stress on their arms opposed to their bodies.
I think so. I think by that time we go through the other things we talk about with this. I think it's confounding factors. Like there's a bunch of stuff going on. There's this what we're talking about now, and the second thing, which is just the length of a season last year going to this season, specifically for young pitchers that weren't developed already. So what I mean by that is last year was a 60-game major league season, but there was no real minor leagues. It was quote unquote alternate site pitching, which is
controlled.
Yeah, it's not real heightened competition. You're facing your own guys, right? And it's just I don't care. I mean, I'm not a professional athlete, but you can't tell me that there's a difference. It's the alternate site facing your own guys is the same level of adrenaline as fighting for a playoff spot in August or July. It just isn't.
Oh yeah.
So you're throwing harder. I mean, Lamet's the perfect example of this. They can throw whatever simulation at him he wants, but once he's in the game, that's when you get to 100%, and that's when the stuff starts to break. Right? Clevenger, we're like, hey, Clevenger, how you doing? I'm okay. I can pitch the playoffs. Throws like one inning, and he can't pitch anymore because it's different. It's just, and so what people are theorizing is you have this 60-game little season without real development time in the minors. And then we have this longer season with a full spring training, and then you have real adrenaline starts. And we weren't built up enough last year, and or it was such a weird herky-jerky season last year that when you started getting into the season, they just don't have the stamina. It's like asking a marathon runner, hey, train for a half marathon, and then a day later be like, oh, next year doing a marathon. And that's what people are theorizing too, is just there's just not enough durability, there's not enough stamina built in with these guys.
My counter to that is it's not like we had 4 shortened seasons in a row. We had one shortened season, and it was an odd thing. Major League Ball clubs and strength and conditioning people are trained to get their players ready for a long season.
Right.
This is not they didn't just hire all new strength and conditioning people who have no idea how to do this. All clubs know how to do this. So I think that, to me, and my made-up medical degree doesn't hold water. But I've never been a pop star either, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think that is again, doesn't hold as much water to me as arm speed, and ball weight and all that kind of stuff, because teams know how to condition their players for 162 game season. This is something that's been happening for over 100 years in baseball. We know about it. It is a known quantity. Hey, you should do these stretches. You need to do this. This isn't something new to any team. And since it's since it's happening to everybody, every team has these kind of injury lists.
There is some unifying thing. I do think there is something unifying. Go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you can't tell me every strength and conditioning coach was fired and they hired some new kid, fresh out of college, full of ideas and spunk. No, that's not what happens. Yeah. They all know about this. It's not. I find it difficult to believe it's the strength and conditioning and the shorter to a longer season. I think it has everything to do with all the pitchers went and tried to get their arm slots changed, their spin rate changed, and from what I've been reading, if you try to change your spin rate and try to change your grip on balls without changing your whole method of pitching, that could cause strain in your arm. Add that with a heavier ball, and when did they make that ball rule change? It wasn't in the beginning of spring.
No, so they, that's a good question. My understanding was they also use the same ball in spring training that they're using now, but it's this year. But it's just this year. Yeah.
It wasn't during the off season.
No.
So
they only had access to the new balls in spring training.
Yeah, exactly. So again, that could be it. All of a sudden, they train all off season to get their spin rate, their arm slots better, everything on a regular baseball. Now they give them a different ball with different grooves, and the whole idea with the different ball and grooves was pitchers would stop using sticky substances. So really, we can blame this whole problem, all the injuries, solely on Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole's feet. Is that what we're saying? So we need to burn those two witches, get baseball back to normal, and we're fine?
I think we've crossed the spin rate river of no return.
But you hear that, Trevor Bauer? It's your fault.
I think we're going to see a year of just tons and tons of injuries. I don't think what we're talking about, which is, mechanics, the new ball, this going to a full season after a shortened one, it's just not going to be fixed. Right? I don't see this trend going down. I actually think that we're going to see more Padres injuries. I think every team has already gotten injuries, and so we're just going to see more of them.
Yeah, it really is becoming an endurance race, and it's sad because it's happening earlier on, and it's always it's always an endurance race, but who has the most healthier people at the end of the game? That's one of the reasons why the Giants, they're theorizing, are better than the Padres and Dodgers right now. They're not as good of a team on paper, but they've had fewer injuries.
Yeah, I mean, they've had... Yeah, I don't know. There's not going to be a Padres problem. It's going to be as I mentioned earlier.
It already is a Major League Baseball problem.
Right.
There's more injuries now than ever. Every team, it seems like, has some pitcher out for the season because of Tommy John.
Yep. James, speaking of injuries, our next topic is kind of tied to it. You mentioned earlier, the new ball. Is that on top of injuries, Major League Baseball has a hitting epidemic. I'm trying to think of a COVID pun, but maybe that's too soon. Can you make COVID puns? Can't make COVID puns, huh?
Yeah, but an epidemic wouldn't. Never mind.
So
a hitting drought. There is a drought of hitting.
A hitting drought. So hitters are not doing great this year across the board. No. It is the worst April hitting in the modern past 5 years. People theorize it was just as bad as 1968 or 69, the year of a pitcher, which forced Major League Baseball to lower the mound. It looking like that hitters are not hitting. Just for example, 2021, April through 421 games, the average batting average is 233 and 246 and 248 and 250. So we're trending downward as hitters On base percentage down from 321 to 310. Slugging's down 17 points. So all across the board, hitters are not hitting. Jace Tingler had this to say, James. You look at average, OPS, a lot of the offensive stats are down. Why is that? I don't know. Pitchers are really freaking good. The new baseball? I don't know. But I don't think it's just us. You look across the entire league, who knows how the summer plays out? As it starts to heat up and pitchers start logging more and more innings, and maybe there's not as fresh, maybe the hitters around the league catch up. I don't have a clean explanation right now. I just know our guys work. They're controlling the zone. They're ultra talented, and we got a lot of belief in them.
As do I. And I think, once again, Major League Baseball cannot seem to get out of its own way. They sprung this. They said, hey, here, start the spring training. Try this new ball. If they would have given it to clubs to play around with right after the offseason, right after the World Series ended, oh, by the way, we're going to use this now, it might have gotten clubs a chance to play around with it, experiment more, seeing how the ball was traveling in different ballparks, and how it was approaching off the bat. And one of the bigger problems with hitting as of right now, most hitters are obsessed with launch angle, hitting the ball in the air as hard as you can. And yes, that helps a lot. But if you look at the hitters that are doing very well right now, Mike Trout, he can hit an incredible launch angle, but he also can hit line drives. So he knows how to adjust his swing to hit a line drive opposed to just a home run. The Padres' two best hitters right now, as far as line drive hitting, are Eric Hosmer and Manny Machado. And Hosmer needs to learn to hit the ball a little bit more into the air.
He needs more launch angle.
He needs more launch angle on some of his stuff, but he definitely has the highest batting average. Manny Machado is our best hitter just in general, but as we previously discussed, must have run over a leprechaun or something. He is just, every time he's up to bat, he seems to hit a screamer right into a glove.
Yeah,
he's like everything he hits is at somebody. That's always going to change if you keep putting the ball in the bat and the ball. Your luck is going to change. But both those two hitters can make the adjustment of, am I going to pound it or am I going to line drive it? And they can see where the ball's coming and they can adjust their swings accordingly in the moment. Tatis can get that, but Tatis is really all about the power right now. And you can't argue. I mean, it's fun to watch. He's hit a lot of really great home runs. Another great home run on Sunday. But it depends. I think it all has to do with the mindset of baseball right now. Hitters, launch angle, pitchers, spin rate. We're seeing two scientific theorems go at each other. And baseball throws in a new ball, and you're seeing just a mixture of things that are making just this awful soup.
I think that here's what I don't understand, and I need Rob Manfred to be on our podcast.
Did you hear that, Rob Manfred?
Come on our podcast. I genuinely don't understand why we hate home runs so much. Why do we hate home runs? Why? So you're giving me a ball that has up to 10 feet less travel? Why? Homers are fun.
Home runs are fun. Everyone loves a home run.
Yeah. Everyone loves them, right?
The Brewers have a guy that slides down something. The Mets have an apple that pops out of a hat.
The Marlins used to have a fountain, whatever that thing was. And, they're fun. But when you tell me, kids aren't, when we're trying to say, hey, people need to be more entertained and watch the sports some more, and the solution is giving them a dead end ball. That's not really, that doesn't really play with those two facts, right? You would think, no, just let's keep something what it was last year. It was less, like, I think the 2017 ball was ridiculous. I'll concede that 2017, that ball was way too juiced, way too ability to hit home runs. But last year's ball was fine.
Let's, in case you're unaware of this, ladies and gentlemen, back in 2017, Major League Baseball released another new ball. Hey, this ball,
actually they never officially announced they did it, but that's the funny part.
But you cut it open.
Yeah. People did like X-rays.
People cut them open. And look, everything it's built differently.
Yeah.
And people were just pounding home runs.
One-handed home runs.
It was like back to steroid era.
Yeah.
Then they went back in 2018, 2019 to the original ball that's been the ball since the dead ball era. There was an era in baseball that was called a dead ball era where basically they were throwing a rock to the pitchers and hitters and literally somebody died because the ball came back and hit somebody in the head and it was a rock and they killed somebody. That's why it's called a dead ball era. So
also the ball didn't travel well. It literally was like a Led Zeppelin. Not great.
It was like a Led Zeppelin?
Yes, that's the expression. It flew like Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelins don't fly very well, James.
I get it, but I just automatically was thinking of the band.
Well, they were named after that expression.
Okay, but they were a good band.
People come to our podcast for hard-hitting facts like the root of band names, James.
It's true. Again, I forget. You've been to the Grammys many times.
As previously discussed.
You have millions of fans.
Millions.
If you don't end the podcast by singing "Bye Bye Bye," I think you've done a disservice to our fans.
That's like his worst song. I can't sing the song that's actually his best song. It's not age appropriate for this podcast.
Okay. I forgot what we were talking about. Anyway, so
Dead ball era.
Dead ball era. So now the baseball's changed the ball again. They can't help but get in their own way. I think none of these problems would be happening if baseball would have just said, we're doing this. I don't like the new rules they're trying out in the Atlantic League, but at least they're trying them out first. If they would have given them this ball last year and people would have played around with it, we wouldn't be having this many problems. But now they're like, oh, maybe we should try these ideas out first.
So that's interesting. So here's this weird problem now. It's where does the adjustment go? What's the movable object? Is it hitters? Or do we make rules that punish hitters, or do we make rules that punish pitchers? Because what this looks like with this ball, it's definitely a hitter punishing thing.
Yes.
Because we can't say things like, we're going to give you an advantage, and then say, also figure out how to hit the other way. People are throwing 100-mile-an-hour balls with crazy horizontal movement. Like Dustin made horizontal movement on his pitches are just silly. And then you're like, oh, but also think about beating the shift. What are we going to do? Like, what is the adjustment that we make? Or do we just say, maybe, and this is my opinion, I think we need to go back to the old ball, right? And just if a pitcher makes if a pitcher can throw a pitch 100 miles an hour with 6-inch horizontal break and a guy hits it, he gets rewarded, right?
Yes, exactly.
He's the one that's a psycho that has trained his whole life to hit a ball that the human eye can't actually perceive. Right? They've done studies where you literally can't see a pitch that fast with that much movement. But because they've been swinging a bat their whole life, and if they catch up to that, they make barrel. Give them the ball that'll go to the moon. Right? Like if we're gonna, I love seeing crazy spin. I love seeing hard throwers. But you cannot have it where you also make it a harder ball with more movement. That even if you do, we talked about this before the show. Tommy Pham is warning track power.
Absolutely. And Tommy Pham has 0 home runs right now.
Right.
If you were to add 10 feet to several of his home runs, he would have at least 4 or 5 home runs.
Right.
Easily. Because he is a line drive hitter. And he's a bloop line drive hitter sometimes. And he is just he's hit balls on the screws and has only made it to the warning track. And it's frustrating for him. And this hitter, he's not alone. There are a lot of hitters throughout Major League Baseball right now that are feeling this and are going a little nuts.
Yeah, the reward should always be the hitter. If you hit a barrel, which means you hit it in the sweet spot of a bat, you hit it hard, and we're using this level of physics where the pitcher is literally figuring out oh, if I this is how pitchers think now. Some really advanced ones. They literally like, oh, if I throw a ball that seems in this direction, it will cause a turbulent wake in the air to allow for said result. That's insanity. And like I love it. But what that means is if you're that much in aerodynamics, you're that much into training development, and you're throwing a nasty pitch after nasty pitch, if the hitter catches up to it, Major League Baseball should have a ball that rewards the hitter. Because I don't care what you say, but like these pitchers are not getting worse. Right?
No, they're not.
They're not, and they're not going to, and there shouldn't be worse. And so moving the mound back a feet is not the right attitude. What it should be is like, no, you should still be great. We should still see you throw 100+ mile an hour pitches, but we need to make it so hitters are given more hits and, home runs, because home runs are fun. As I said previously, no hitters were still thrown in 2017.
Yeah.
You can still fool people, even with the most like bounciest of balls. So it's just hitters need to be given more. And if you want an entertainment factor, people don't go to ball games necessarily to watch a guy strike out 3 batters and get 10 ground outs and 2 singles over 7 innings. You go because you want to see Fernando Tatis hit a moonshot. You want to be there when someone just, plays good baseball. And that happens with offense. Now, I love good pitching duels, but I don't know. I'm on a rant. I'm so far away now. But
I stand.
Yeah.
We've talked about we had an episode previously. We talked about the Major League Baseball's new rule ideas are trying out in the Atlantic League. I will stand by my statement from that episode. I think what Major League Baseball needs to do is an electronic strike zone, a laser strike zone where every hitter knows they can look at them, they're at bat, and look at that. That's my strike zone,
right.
And the pitchers should be able to know that's his strike zone, because every strike zone for a batter, all batters are different sizes. It's knees to the shoulders, the legal strike zone, and the width of the plate. If it's an electronic strike zone, all of a sudden, the hitters now can zero in that section, and the pitchers can zero in that section, and you get rid of the guesswork on whether things are going to be a strike or not. Doesn't mean the pitchers can, like Trevor Bauer pitch that looks like it's going to start going right down the middle, and all of a sudden it's 16 inches off the plate. Those are still going to happen. But then if it's 16 inches off the plate, it's not going to be called a strike randomly.
I think what we're learning slowly by talking about these new rules is that they are incredibly pitcher friendly.
Absolutely.
Except for the strike zone, automatic strike zone. The other ones are, the current Major League rules are very pitcher friendly. I would say, yeah, they're all pretty pitcher friendly. But the ones that come up, which is moving the mound back and the strike zone, isn't pitcher friendly. But let's say if you hit a ball in the zone, does that mean you're guaranteed a hit? No, of course not. But if you hit a ball in the screws and there's a ball that's literally designed to decrease.
Well, the reason why I say that is because watching just pitchers this year, pitchers love to live outside the strike zone, love to paint the corner, because they know if they pitch something in the strike zone, that's a hitter's natural sweet spot and power spot. If you make the strike zone so there is no margin for error, the pitchers will have to go more into the strike zone to guarantee the strike, which means the hitters will have to have a better chance of hitting the ball. Even with a heavy dead-end ball, we're going to have more hits because hitters will adjust to that. I think the dead ball, I don't get me wrong, I like the idea of pitchers, hey, we're going to give you this ball, and so you can stop using sticky substances. But also, I don't have a problem with sticky substances. If batters have pine tar, if they can come up with some universal spray can they put in their hands to throw a ball, why not?
Yeah.
And get back to the original ball. It doesn't make any sense no hitters had a problem with the sticky substance because it was less balls to the head.
Right.
Because all of a sudden they had more control over the ball. I think any hitter in their right mind would rather go back to the pitcher having a sticky hand and be able to, Tommy Pham, be able to hit a ball over the left field wall opposed to just dying in the outfield, and then having this heavy, stupid ball that's actually hurting more pitchers than anybody else. Physically hurting more pitchers than anybody else.
In conclusion, give us the old balls back. Come on.
Exactly.
Give us the old ball back. James, it wouldn't be a fun episode if we didn't look back and have some fun with our San Diego Padres, James. We just closed out the month of April.
First month of baseball, and 2021 is over.
And yeah, we're going to look back at some of our favorite moments, James. James, what was one of your favorite moments?
Well, obviously, it's the no-hitter. I mean, I watched it. I just still can't believe it happened.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the best baseball moments of my life.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
The ninth inning. So Joey and I were both watching it, and Joey calls me. And he's like, oh, and it was the last out, and he calls me, oh my God, what? And it became very apparent after the first pitch. I was watching the game, and my stream was like
Second or 2
seconds faster than yours, because when the ball went to Ha-Seong Kim, I didn't want to be like just start screaming because I'd ruin it for you. I just sort of went, "Oh Joe, oh Joe!" It was just so great to have that moment with you, and then I was like trying to hide in my scream, and then finally, when your scream caught up to it, we both screamed together. It was a really cool moment for the two of us as baseball fans and Padre fans to experience,
Right?
And especially since it's just been a running joke that we've never had one, and how many times we've gotten close has never happened. It's the no hitter for me is the top mark just because it was such an amazing thing. But in real baseball terms, Tatis being Tatis is phenomenal. Machado being a team leader. Hugh Darvish being Cy Young quality. Mm-hmm. On top of that, Joe Musgrove is clearly our second best starter. Blake Snell's great, but Joe Musgrove has taken the next step, and I think he's definitely our most consistent starter of the month of April. And our Palomar College.
Yeah.
Tim Hill.
The pride of Comet Circle.
Yeah. Why isn't Comet Circle named after Tim Hill? Where's the statue in Palomar College is known for little to nothing else except for Tim Hill. Come on, Palomar College. We know you're listening.
Yeah, I definitely, it was a fun month. It was definitely like, it's not what I expected the month to be. I wanted it to be guns a-blazing domination, what I really wanted. It was tempered by just some pretty poor performances by our Padres, but
Yes.
also could very well be tied to what we talked about for this episode.
And when you think, all of a sudden, all those bad hits, all those just, oh look, our pitcher's down again.
We lost Morahone. Like Weathers is hurt. Lamet is hurt.
Weathers has a dead arm because he's throwing a ball that's heavier than he's used to throwing. Just ridiculous.
But some of my favorite moments, I'm gonna piece some of the stuff out you did.
All right.
I'm going to start with Tim Hill because I texted the other day, Tim Hill on yesterday. I said yesterday, Tim Hill has to be nervous because it's not bases loaded. He's coming into a non-bases loaded situation.
Not emergency situation. How does he handle?
Tim Hill, bases loaded situation in the 10th inning, that crazy Sunday night baseball game. He was 3-2, bases loaded. The rookie DJ Peters up. Tim Hill throws his weird little sidearm and just gets him to strike out above the zone. He gets hyped beyond belief. And then on, I think it was Friday or Saturday, playing the Giants, comes in, bases loaded. They pull in a righty. Darren Ruff misses a grand slam by inches.
Oh, yeah, inches.
It's just yeah. and then strikes him out,
Yeah.
then strikes out Mike Tauchman. And he's just like the bases loaded champion. I would not have said, if you said to me, the two best relief efforts you're going to see from the Padre this month, it's going to be from Tim Hill. I wouldn't have believed you. But now I'm proud to say I was wrong. Because it's an awesome, I don't know, just something about, there's something about guys that are so funky like that. They have a funky delivery. They don't look especially athletic. No offense, Tim Hill. Like,
No offense.
he's obviously an athlete.
Why are you good? You clearly look like you should suck. How can you be offended by that?
Yeah, if you put Aroldis Chapman next to Tim Hill and be like, they're just as good as high pressure situations, I'd be like, no, what are this? And I'm glad to be wrong. I'm glad to eat crow. I'm glad to eat humble pie.
Then you put their arrest records next to each other. Like, well, around this Chapman.
Wow.
Just saying. One of those two is shot a gun at his wife. Palomar College was not that one.
You're rude. But Tim Hill was awesome. Darvish was exactly what we thought we were going to, get. Very, very dominant. I said dominant. You're welcome. Yeah, it's been super fun. There's a lot. It's just fun to have baseball back. It's fun to feel disappointment again. It's fun to see this is still, baseball's a tough sport. You're not guaranteed anything. It's fun to see our guys just really play their hearts out. I think the Dodger series probably the best series of baseball Padres have had in a very, I don't know. I felt more fun and exciting than the Cardinals series in the playoffs.
I agree.
And just something about, and the reason why I say that is that both those series were great.
I think one of the reasons why is because we weren't actively wishing for the harm of the broadcasters. I mean, Alex Rodriguez was annoying, but at least he acknowledged that there's more than one player on the field and not just an overrated catcher.
I think it also was, we talked about this in our opening day episode. You and I wanted to know, are we for real? Yes. And being the Dodgers and being so close being the Dodgers in the second series and then being so close in the first series taught me, we're with them, if not better.
Exactly.
And honestly, the first series was a total coin flip because you can't tell me that Dodger dominated us. You really can't. And so I thought that was super fun. Tatis coming back, having that 5 home run weekend against the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, just he did it on a stage. It was the most watched baseball series of a week.
And let's not forget, also for the first Dodger, we have the one pitcher that can truly dominate Mookie Betts.
Yeah.
Cronenworth.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly right. Cronenworth. It's just so tough because this is the problem with being a fan is that you can start thinking about all of these role players that you just want to really shout out, like Cronenworth, and even Kim has done an amazing job.
Kim is quite possibly the best defensive infielder I've ever seen in my life.
He's very, very good.
He's very, very good,
and very fast, very handsome.
As previously discussed, he is the Korean James Bond.
He's very handsome. I don't know. This favorite moments can immediately just us talking about everyone in our roster being good. I will say one thing in our podcast before we wrap up the show. We have been hard on Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham has looked better last week. You're allergic to my takes, I see. You're allergic to my takes.
I was going to edit the sneeze out, but apparently I'm not going to now because you commented on it. Anyways, no. His batting average has increased by 60 points in the last 3 games, or 4 or 5 games. So no, he has definitely gotten better. And we talked about it even when he was first struggling. He was hitting the ball, it was just at people, like Machado's doing right now. He's finally hitting the ball not at people.
Yep.
And so it was bound to change. He's doesn't still have the same power he used to because he can't. He was never a second deck home run guy. He was just over the fence line drive guy, and all those are dying because the stupid ball weighs 9 pounds.
It was
Or 9 ounces heavier than it did before. Anyways, the point is it's heavier.
Can you imagine the first game back? We have a new ball. And it's actually 9 pounds. Like, what? Have fun. You're like a shot putter. People are like shot putting the ball. Hope you can catch it. Hope you can hit it.
The catches around. Yeah, the umpires would want an electronic strike zone real quick.
Yeah.
That coming down the pipe.
You would see the umpires like, actually, we're going to stand behind the pitcher and call
Exactly like we used to do in the olden days.
Oh, that'd be funny. Well, James, anything else to add before we wrap up?
I think a good discussion.
Thanks.
The biggest problem and the biggest thing that we have to learn from this, and I think I don't know how the Major League Baseball union, players union needs to get on this. They cannot allow Major League Baseball to change the rules on them first day of spring. They can't just give you something that they've never used before first day of spring and just think everything was going to go okay with it. The amount of arms that are hurt right now, the amount of teams that are damaged right now because of this simple change of a ball is ridiculous. Major League Baseball needs to... I think they are learning from their mistakes because they're trying things out in the Atlantic League right now.
Right.
But this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I personally think Rob Manfred... that's not how you say his name, is it? It's Manfred.
Manfred. He's a man. Fred.
Manfred? It's not Manfred?
No.
Oh.
You're listening to me podcast podcast. Rob Manfred.
Oh, that's right, because he's a political guy.
Yeah.
That's right. All right.
Rob Manfred.
Anyways, that dingus. Let's just call him Dingus from now on.
Did you read real fast? Did you read the Defector article on him? I thought it was very good. Defector's a sports blog, and basically they called out Rob Manfred. Manfred is like technically he's a commissioner, technically likes baseball, but he has no feel for the game.
Oh yeah,
and that's a great way to critique him. I thought he has absolutely no feel of what baseball's about currently.
No, but my point is he should be out of baseball.
Wow.
He should.
People often confuse us for being a pro Rob Manfred pod. I don't know if you know that.
I don't know. Really? Well, let's change that. Let's change that perception right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are not a pro dingus podcast.
He's a labor lawyer. He's more respectful for labor lawyers.
He needs to go. They need somebody in there who understands. Maybe in a committee, maybe have the president and a couple of people in there to be like, hey, maybe former players.
I'm sure some of these are done by committee. I'm sure they are. But the problem is that he can't if you need to have, if it's done by committee, bring about the thought processes a little bit more, expose a little bit more. And
if anything, if another mistake happens like this, let's just drop a new ball on base. Here's the thing. This is the second time they've done it.
At least the second time they told everyone about it.
Everyone knew 2017 had happened.
They never officially
Don't forget. They credited the Astros' success to that ball for the longest time. Well, it's the new ball in baseball. But then they realized, well, even with the new ball, they're hitting better than everybody else does. So, no, that was they 100%. Even the Astros was saying, oh, it's because this new ball. Everyone knew it. There's YouTube videos of people with a skill saw chopping the balls in half. Oh, look, it's definitely different. You know, this is the ball I caught in 2016. This is the ball I caught in 2017. They're 100% different. This is true. You could go online and find them. It's the second time Rob Dingus has done this.
Manfred.
I'm afraid to say it now because, Rob Manfred said this.
We should call him Boy Frederick. Robert Boy Frederick.
No. Somehow I think Dingus is less insulted. Anyways, no, this is ridiculous. They can't do this anymore.
No, I agree. I want to see Tommy Pham smile more. Not that he has to smile.
He has a good smile.
He has a great
and
smile.
He had a rough offseason. He deserves to smile.
Yeah. I want to see him more home runs. I like home runs. Yeah,
I want to see Lamet not have his arm fall off.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one thing I'm gonna add is Lamet. Man,
I want to see our son Weathers
they
have a 20-year career of just Kershaw-like stats.
Well, today, as we're recording this, Lamet hasn't pitched yet. It is Tuesday as we're recording this, so we do not know what happens in the future. And there's a theory that Lamet will be relieved by Ryan Weathers afterwards. So it'll be like a 3-inning stint and maybe a 3-4 inning stint from Weathers. I'm all about. That's a great idea. But yeah, I don't want. And Lamet is the definition of like a crazy hard thrower. He throws 100, has a hard breaking pitch, and he just throws the crap out of the ball. We don't want injuries in that. And I want to see him have a great career. I want to see Weathers have a great career. And yeah, I just hope that the MLBPA and MLB protects them. But yeah, and I think just anything else for me to add, I think it's just, I'm excited for May, James. I'm excited for see what the Padres do. I'm excited to see some more series where we beat up bad teams.
Yes.
Please.
Lots more of that.
We've talked a lot that I actually like 12-0 wins. I like when we go ahead. Like the Giants today had 10 runs in the first inning because they play in an arcade. They play on the moon.
Yeah, exactly. The only place where the ball doesn't affect anywhere is still Coors Field. It's still the ridiculousness in Colorado.
Somehow the Giants have not scored more runs. It is still 10-0 in Colorado. But it's just crazy, James. But baseball's back. Happy about that. Going to be a fun month of May, James. You and I are going to see more baseball games. It'll be super fun. We're going to see some more dominations from Padres. And with that, James, shall we end it?
That's just how we end it.
Remember to like us on YouTube. Remember to follow us on Twitter. We're @BrothersPadre. Remember to subscribe, smash the bell button, like every video, buy our merch. We don't have merch. Maybe we should get merch.
Maybe we should have merch. You should have you dressed up as Justin Timberlake.
It's gonna be me. Is that a great impression?
No, goodbye.
It's my top 10 impression. Until next time, we'll have the recap episode on Thursday. We'll recap this week's episode. We actually might be right this time for our predictions.
We might be right. We might be right for predictions.
We might. We cannot say we will. We might.
There's 2 more games that might ruin that.
I hope we're wrong the other way.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
You and I both said 4-2. We're currently sitting 3-1. We have 2 more games left in this homestand. Yeah.
Thursday's going to be a fun day.
Yeah. Okay,
Join us, ladies and gentlemen.
Till next time.
Bye.
And there it is. Oh, doctor, you can hang a star on that, baby.